What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 10 budget guitars that I would recommend. Brands that you can trust, guitars that you can trust, and guitars that you'll really enjoy playing. Before we get into that, do me a favor, like and subscribe, do all the things. You can go to patreon.com /DylanTalksTone. You can become a YouTube member down there, join, all that kind of stuff. That's really what makes these videos possible. And also, if you want to support the channel, you can go over to Dylan Talks Tone and you can buy pickups and guitars and all kinds of guitar related stuff over there at Dylan Talks Tone. We make pickups. That's what we really do. So I want to talk about these 10 budget guitars. This is not going to be your normal cheap guitar video, okay? Because let's get the criteria out of the way right away. These are not going to be the cheapest guitars available. They're not going to be that. They're also not going to be, this is not a guitar video that this guitar is just as good as this expensive one and unfair comparisons, stuff like that. We want to be a lot more realistic with this. One of the things I want to do is I want to recommend to you guitars as a beginner player, as an intermediate player, or even as an expert player who wants to learn to mod things and do his own work on the guitar. It doesn't matter where you are in your guitar playing journey. All of these guitars will be guitars that you can just pick up, you can play, and you can enjoy. The criteria for them are, first of all, they have to be good. Okay, the guitars have to be good. They have to be really excellent guitars, and they have to be good quality. Right? We don't want to have to pull them out of the box and do a bunch of work to them to make them playable. That's number one. Number two, they got to be relatively affordable. When I say relatively affordable, I don't mean the cheapest guitars on the internet, but I also mean even if you have to save for them a little bit, but not really expensive. I think nothing on, first of all, there are definitely no 4-digit guitars here. I think we're talking 800 and below, maybe 750 and below, something like that. Okay, so relatively affordable, save up for a little bit, relatively affordable, at least in 2025. Number three, they don't need any mods to be playable, okay? We talked about quality already. It's not like you have to get these guitars out of the box and do a bunch of work to them to get them to play, right? They're gonna be playable. They're gonna be good guitars. Second of all, you don't have to do a bunch of mods to them and change out a bunch of parts to make them good. I think they're just gonna be great on their own. Now, that being said, as we go, I'm gonna tell you, because I have personal experience with all of these guitars except for one. No, actually all of them. I've had personal experience with all of them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some ideas of what I've done, to the ones that I've had, to make them better. But again, this is stuff that you don't have to do at all. These guitars are just going to be good as they are. The cool thing about the guitars we're going to talk about is I think they're all going to be keepers, right? These are not going to be guitars that you're going to grow out of. I think if you spend a few bucks and you get a good guitar that is reliable, that is a good player from a reputable brand, then I think you're going to want to keep this guitar forever, especially if it's your first guitar. If it's your first guitar, I would definitely recommend keeping your first guitar. Never sell it. Never, ever sell your first guitar. So if this is your first one, then welcome, obviously, and have a bunch of fun playing. The goal with this video is to get you into guitars that will kind of get you into the family, right? We don't want to get a guitar that is just this one-off cheap thing that nobody's ever heard of, and then it hurts your fingers and you're frustrated with it, and then the next thing you know, you're not playing guitar. We want to welcome you to the guitar community. We want you to enjoy what you're doing, and we want you to be part of a bigger community that keeps you playing for a lot longer, right? So the brands that we mentioned are going to be brands that help you to do that. Not just the guitar itself, but the brand itself, right? They've been around for a long time. They've got a big community surrounding them. There's a lot of support, all those things. So those things are things that I think you will also benefit from by picking one of these. So let's get into the list. As we go, I'm going to show you an example if I have something or something close, and I might tell you the differences between it. This is probably not the guitar you want. This is a guitar that a lot of people hate, actually, but this is the Schecter PT. Now, this as a brand, as a line of guitars, is fantastic. The one that I'm showing you on the screen right now is probably the one I would get, with the P90 in the neck and the Telecaster bridge pickup in the bridge. These guitars are made in Indonesia. They are attainable price-wise. The quality is excellent, and they come with a lot of more modern features that I think would be more welcoming for a lot of players. The brand is very reputable. They've been around since probably the late 70s, early 80s. They make anything from very expensive guitars down to these much more affordable ones. And what I've found with everyone that I've ever gotten out of the box is they've played really well and they sound great. The guitar that I'm showing you on the screen, I would put one of our P90s in it, and then I would put one of our flat six Telecaster pickups, or maybe one of our Widowmaker pickups in the bridge pickup, and you would have just a gnarly guitar that would basically, you'd never want to get rid of it. I think they look great, they feel great, they sound great, and again, it's just a guitar that you can get out of the box and you can play. Number 2 on the list, I do not have one here, but we do have a video about it on the channel, and that is the Yamaha Revstar. It's an excellent, more modern take on a double cut guitar. It's they're very light. They have an interesting pickup circuit with like a mid-shift sort of push-pull. It's a very cool sounding guitar, and they actually come in a couple of different varieties. They come in some humbucker and also some P90s. I think in the one I had, we took out the Yamaha pickups and we put our DAFs, which are like our vintage PAF style pickup, in there, and they sounded amazing. The guitar played really, really well. The thing about Yamaha guitars is almost no matter the budget, even the real inexpensive Yamaha guitars, the quality control is actually pretty good. And you can take them out of the box and just put a set of strings on them, do a setup on them, and play them. And they're very, very good guitars. The fit and finish on the Revstar was fantastic. The finish itself was great. The fretwork was great. From what I recall, the guitar was just absolutely incredible. You get it out of the box. And they have a very good reputation around the internet too. If you talk to anybody in the comments, if you have one of these guitars, please share. That goes with any of this stuff. If you please share your personal experiences in the comments. People that like the Revstar really like it. It's a really neat guitar because it doesn't look like everything else, but it plays well, it sounds good, and it's a really high quality instrument. I really liked it. I thought it was really neat. Next on the list, we're going to get to some big boy brands. This is a Gibson Les Paul. Obviously, this is a Slash signature, but in this place, I don't have an Epiphone in stock right now, but the Epiphone 60s Les Paul is probably the one I would get if I was you. They come in a few different colors. What they do is they get you into Les Paul land. There is nothing like a Gibson Les Paul. Getting you close and getting you in the family is an Epiphone Les Paul. The new ones are fantastic. The quality of them is great. The finish is great. The pickups are great. Now they have urethane finishes. There's a bunch of differences. You know, obviously they're an Epiphone and they're not a Gibson. They've got different finish and different pickups and different stuff, but it really gets you in the family. One of the things about that particular model, the reason I recommend the 60s one, is because sometimes, especially for people who are not super familiar and they're looking to kind of get into this family, the slim 60s taper neck is a lot more agreeable with a lot more people. The 50s one, the neck's pretty fat, and so that might turn you off to the guitar a little bit. So I would personally recommend getting the 60s one. That's why I got this guitar, because it's got the 60s neck and I really, really like it. Number 4 on the list is going to be the Epiphone SG. Now I don't have an actual SG. This is my SG Junior, but kind of same family. Very light guitar, obviously legendary instrument. And Epiphone actually makes a couple of different SGs. They make the SG Special with 2 P90s in it, which I really, really love. But if you want like the full boat Epiphone SG with 2 humbuckers in it, comes in black, I think. It comes in this normal cherry, and it gets you in the family. Same thing, really nice profile on the neck. Excellent playable guitar, very light, and there's nothing bad to say about it. What are they, $5.99? Something like that. These guitars at this price point, you could play just the way you got them and they would be awesome. They would benefit from a set of pickups. We put in most of these, when people buy them, Obviously, we have our P90s for the specials and for the juniors, and then most of the time we'll put DAFs in them. The same thing with the Les Pauls. We put DAFs in a lot of Epiphone Les Pauls and Epiphone SGs. I've found that when you get the Epiphone stuff, they come relatively well. The quality control is very good. The fretwork is very good. The setup, you might just have to do a setup on it like normal, like any other guitar, but they're awesome. The finishes on Epiphones are very slick, very nice, and they look excellent. And again, this gets you into the Gibson family at a very reasonable price, and I think they're excellent guitars. Now we're going to get into the Fender family of guitars with number 5, 6, and 7. So this is going to be number 5, 6, and 7. We're going to talk about 3 different series of guitars. Now, instead of specifically talking, we said this was the top 10 guitars, but the thing is that Fender's interesting, right? Because if you're a Tele guy, you're going to go down the Tele road. If you're a Jazzmaster guy, you're going to go down that road, Strat guy, etc. So I don't want to say, let's limit you in your style. So what I want to do with the Fender side of things is just kind of give you the families, the range in the range of the guitars that I would recommend for you in the budget realm. So number 5 is actually going to be the most expensive, which is the Made in Mexico Player 2 series. Now they are excellent instruments. They are the most expensive. They're manufactured in Mexico. They are the closest in spec to an American one. So this is an American vintage 2. They have, what I like about them is they have a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. This has a 7 1/4. So the higher the number, for those of you that are not familiar, can be a little bit more agreeable to more players. It's a little flatter, it's a little easier to play, it's a little easier to set up, right? But the Made in Mexico Player 2 series is just going to get you into some nicer pickups, some nicer switch gear, some nicer hardware than some of the Asian stuff. But so it's going to get you kind of closer to the American production stuff for a very reasonable price. And they're excellent instruments. When you get them, you'll just go through the factory Fender setup and just make sure that it's what you want. Sometimes one thing about Fender is their nuts come a little bit high. And their action standard is a little higher than what I personally like, but a lot of people really like it the way it comes. So you probably won't have to mess with it at all. All of the Fender budget realm, this one and the other 2 that we're going to talk about, the Mexican ones, not so much. You can kind of just leave them alone. The pickups are pretty decent. Of course, I'm going to tell you to change pickups because that's what I do, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. You could just play the guitar exactly the way it comes, and they're super cool. Number 6 is going to be the Indonesian made Telecaster Standard, Stratocaster Standard. That Standard series, they're right around $500, something, $550, something right in there. And they have, again, just the thing about those ones is they're going to have a more modern bridge. So they're going to have, they're like the more modern Telecaster. So they're going to have, if you don't want to mess with the vintage saddles with the Telecaster, for example, is going to have the 6 individual saddles. It's going to be a little bit more modern appointments, right? And it's going to be just an easy guitar to own. You're not going to have to worry about all the little intricacies of setting up your vintage style hardware. You can just play the guitar just the way it comes. It's a little bit more modern, like I said. The Asian guitars, once you kind of get along in your journey a little bit and you want to learn how to mod and stuff, we have excellent pickups that these guitars could really benefit from, as well as switch gear. So we can put new pots, caps, and switching in your Telecaster, as well as loaded pick guards and stuff in the Stratocaster stuff. So the cool part about these instruments is they're very easily modded because all of them have the standard Telecaster and Stratocaster dimensions. Some of the earlier imported guitars, you had to worry about whether stuff was gonna fit or not, but all this stuff is gonna fit everything if you ever wanted to mod it in the future. Number 7 is gonna be the Fender Classic Vibe series. Now the Fender Classic Vibe series is the least expensive of what we're talking about here, and they're super cool because they're all kind of the vintage spec stuff. I don't like the pickups in those guitars, but you can get by with them. They're totally fine. But what I really like about them, for those of you that want to mod your guitar, the one that you want to have, like this is an American Vintage too, these are about $2,300 or something. So if you want to have a guitar that feels like this, that you enjoy playing like a vintage guitar, but don't want to spend that much money for it, throw a set of pickups in a Classic Vibe and you will really enjoy that guitar for a long time. That's a guitar I would never ever sell. So the cool thing about the Classic Vibe stuff is they come with the more vintage appointments. So the vintage style bridge, the vintage style fretboard radius, right? The fret size, the vintage tinted neck, all those kind of things. Now they're going to have urethane finishes to keep the cost down, but also vintage style tuners. So they're going to feel very old school. So that goes for the Jazzmaster, the Strat, the basses, the Telecaster, all of the guitars in that series, and they're very inexpensive and super fun. They're good. I've had a bunch of them. I probably had a half a dozen different Classic Vibes over the years, and they're excellent. Excellent guitars, not only to just play, but also as a modding platform. The last 3 guitars that we want to talk about today are PRS, which is interesting because you might think, just initially hearing Paul Reed Smith, that they're very expensive guitars because they make very expensive guitars. This is an American core model PRS Silver Sky. These are somewhere, or what are they? Are they $2,400 or $2,700? I don't remember. They're not inexpensive. So you would think that the import versions, the budget versions of these may not be that attainable. I think we have it in our heads that these are closer to $1,000, but the guitars that I'm going to show you today are much less than that. So the SE version of the Silver Sky is a guitar that I recommend to a lot of people. If you are interested in a Strat, but you don't want what everybody else has, this is an excellent guitar. The SE version of this, I think you can get them right now at Sweetwater for like $679, which is barely more than the Fender one. And actually, it's less than the Made in Mexico Fender one. And personally, I think it's a better guitar. It's an excellent, excellent guitar. The quality is fantastic. It sounds great. It feels great. The weight is really nice. And now they come in a bunch of different colors. Like, I like pink guitars, so I got a pink one, but there's a bunch of different colors that you can get. And they used to be more expensive, but I think, like right now, I think they're $679 to me is a no-brainer for the PRS Silver Sky SE. For just a little more, I think somewhere right around $700 you can get, and I think that's the most expensive guitar in our list today. You can get the McCarty 594 SE, which is a legendary guitar. The McCarty 594 is a legendary PRS, and the SE version is really, really great. We did a series of videos. We had a blue one here. We did a series of videos on it. We put our center punch pickups, I think, in that, and coil split them, and it was an absolute excellent guitar. All of this PRS stuff, the quality is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And when I was putting this list together, I was like, wow, I didn't realize, for some reason I even had it in my head that these guitars were more expensive than they are, the SE version. And if you shop the sales and do your due diligence and finding the right stuff, the budget is really, really good for these guitars. A 594 is fantastic. It is fantastic, and they're beautiful to look at as well. On the other end of the PRS budget, I think $559 you can, which is like Classic Vibe, Fender, standard, Indonesian, like that whole kind of price range, you can get a Custom 24. SE, which is another excellent instrument. I had no idea. I honestly thought, in my own mind even, I hadn't looked for a while, that the only ones that you would get were like the super stripped down versions, right, of a PRS SE guitar. And that's not the case. These things are I've had all of these guitars and I've played them all. They are fantastic. I would tell you, you could never go wrong with an SE version of a PRS. Do me a favor, if you've had experience with any of these 10 guitars, put it in the comments. Tell people what you liked about them. Tell people what mods you did to them. Tell people if you are planning to get one of these 10 guitars. I think it's really important to look at this stuff and be like, you know what? These are guitars that I could not only own, but I could also keep. I really think all of them are keepers. I don't think there's any of these guitars, if you got one, no matter where your guitar journey took you, you would still, in my opinion, want to keep these guitars. Even if you went off and got very expensive guitars in the future, keep this around. Mod them, play with them, mess with them, but keep playing them. The goal of this list was not to show you the cheapest guitars on the planet, not to show you this guitar is just as good as this other one, like we mentioned earlier, but to give you a basis that will keep you playing and keep you part of the community for a long time. Thanks for hanging out. Do me a favor and like and subscribe and do all the stuff you do when you watch a video. Check the links in the description. We'll have all these guitars linked in the description. If you use those links, it will help out the channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.